Because Common Charity uses the same Forbidden and Limited list as Advanced, most new lists don't affect the format that heavily. But the most recent one has had a pretty major effect. Abyss Dweller was one of the most powerful extra deck cards in Common Charity, shutting down Tenyi, Crystron, and key pieces of Lunalight, Melodious, Hero, Fiends for up to 2 turns. This contributed to rank 4 decks being super strong, having access not only to a strong toolbox of removal options, but also a way to shut down graveyard strategies that lingers through removal. Its banning helps decks like Crystron and Tenyi the most. Decks like Hero and Lunalight are a little less strong turn 1, but harder to stop on subsequent turns. Melodious and Megalith lost a little, though their respective synergies with Lancia are better positioned, and some other reasons we'll get to. Dimension Shifter also got limited, so graveyard decks have to worry about it less as well. We got extra copies of the baby Chaos Dragons, which makes Chaos Dragon a bit better, Danger Tsuchinoko, coming back to 3 as a consistency boost for decks that were on it, and an extra Performapal monkey board helps Pepe Melodious, and some other decks that were using it as an extension engine. Regenesis is an archetype that supports monsters with 2500 original attack or defense. The Regenesis monsters special summon themselves from the hand if you have a monster with a 25 stat, and return themselves from the graveyard to the hand during your opponent's end phase if they were sent there this turn. The 2 Regenesis monsters in Common Charity also have an effect that allows them to tribute themselves as a quick effect to act as removal. Warrior is a targeting bounce for monsters, Dragon is a targeting banish for spell traps. Regenesis Birth is a continuous trap that can use one of its effects per turn. It can send a Regenesis monster from deck to book a monster, or during the opponent's turn, bring back as many differently named Regeneses for the turn. Dragon's Mind also supports 25 stat monsters. If you control a monster with one of these original stats, you can use it to negate a spell trap or a monster effect and destroy it. It also allows you to pay 2500 and set it from the graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. These cards have found a home in the format with other packages that summon large lads with 2500 stats, whether it's a blind second deck with cards like Mech Knights, or a control strategy with Eldritch, but other cards and packages have shown up there as well. Mitsurugi no Miko Wozu is a surprisingly important card for reptile decks in Common Charity. Not only as a way to out a Bungus that might be in your way, but also being a level 8 Mitsurugi lets you set up Great Purification much easier. Sacred Boundary is kinda cute as an edict that recurs your resources, but probably not worth running in the deck as it exists at the moment. Mitsurugi Reptile continues to be one of the better Melodious variants. I won CCC ALIN with it, though the type of removal Wozu provides may be less sought after in the upcoming format. Fairy got some new support, and one of the best decks is a Fairy strategy. Does this help Melodious usurp Lunalight as best deck? No, not really, but it is somewhat interesting. Dawn Angel Cambi is a level 1 light fairy that can special summon itself if you have no non-fairy monsters. It can also tribute fairies, including itself, to special summon a fairy monster from your deck, but you're locked into fairies the entire turn. Hrimnir the Divine Follower special summons itself if sent to the graveyard by a card effect, but banishes itself if it leaves the field, and contribute 3 fairies from hand or field to set a continuous spell from deck. Being a level 9 makes this pretty decent in Prediction Princess of all places, and you can send it or any other light fairy to the graveyard with the continuous spell Vingolf's Blessing on activation. Blessing also boosts fairies by 100 for each fairy on field or in grave, and when it is sent to the graveyard, Reborn's a level 4 lower fairy. This is the closest to being relevant with Melodious. If you're running an engine that wants to pop its own back row, you could send, refrain, and revive it. But that's a 2-card combo, and you would need to be playing something like Metal Foes. It is relevant in Prediction Princess, though, as a way to set up Necro Ritual or get Hrimnir to tribute. Aspis School special summons a level 6 or lower fish from hand on normal summon, and special summons itself if it's banished. This is a pretty good card for fish decks, especially goatee ones. Speaking of goatee, Fish and Bids is technically a starter for a fish deck, but the fact that it locks you into fish, and even if you have a combo that's worth going into, you need to activate it at the start of main phase 1, and your opponent can banish 2 cards from their hand to negate it. Migratory Zeriort can special summon itself if there's a Water Xyz on field. You can detach a material from an Xyz you control to special summon a level 3 or 4 monster from hand or yard and make it a 5. This is a great way to add Valiant Shark Lancer to a board with a Water Xyz on it. The issue is, what Water Xyz? The only generically good one got banned. Are we making Dreadnought Dreadnoid or Leviathan Dragon? The new Skull Servant support, Moisa White and White Reanimator, are pretty powerful cards for Skull Servant, allowing the deck to OTK more consistently, though the zombie lock means the deck's end board going first doesn't improve. Because there isn't really a zombie monster you can make with the extra bodies that does anything. Going second decks are not all that special or well positioned in current CC. Prima Materiactor and Materiactor Meltthrough are pretty important for Materiactor, giving you a normal monster that does something, and better consistency. Materiactor Tempai is still decent, but the rank 3s are still mid. Here There Be Dragons is a decent extender if you have a Dragon Ruler in Yard or Banishment, and then on a subsequent turn gives you decent value with its Graveyard effect, putting one of each attribute of the banished rulers into the yard. The issue is currently we only have 2 of the level 7 Dragon Rulers, and our rank 7 pool is pretty mid. 7 Stars Slash Army Annihilation Hagun is another way to get access to level 7 Dragon Rulers, but you need to target a dragon, and then get it off the field to put the dragon in the yard. But it doesn't just work for dragons. Equipping a Jiro Crossus to an Aqua lets you special summon it from being equipped, or equipping any other level 7 guy with a Graveyard effect onto a monster that chooses its type, like a Shuna, which makes this worse but potentially recurable Vessel, or Machina Fortress, I guess. Dragon Piles did benefit from the recent Blue Eye structure deck, but they still need some upgrades to really stand out, and these really aren't it. Tiki Peace is a trap monster that revives continuous traps as normal monsters, essentially making it a 2-trap Redoer on turn 3 at the earliest, but extra material as well. Evil Hero Vicious Claws is an interesting card, an easy extender for Hero, but it doesn't really accomplish much as a 7. Its once per duel effect is hard to trigger proactively without something like TPE, but it does make you hard to kill unless a Kaleido Chick is involved. Have you ever wanted a 0/0 Light Fiend you could unexpected die for? Just the brief period we had Lacrima? That makes sense. Well, if it becomes relevant again, Dippity is here. Dogograd the Stone Trooper. Well, they gave Megalith another pop. I guess Fossil can play it. It can pop 0 attack monsters, which can come up. Cyber Jormungandr is a pretty good card for Sidra. Sidra Crystron was also pretty decent. NT8000 is an interesting piece of interaction for a board with Dark Link monsters. But where are you summoning Dark Link monsters with quick effects? Crimson Firing Pegasus is an interesting tech for Chain Burn. You can special summon it out, and it attacks directly for 2/250, and can burn your opponent for at least 600 when they activate a monster effect on the field, and it won't be destroyed by that effect. Legendary Lord 6 Samurai Kizan is a level 6 synchro that can banish a 6-strike card from your graveyard during your opponent's main phase to pop a targeted card on field. This is pretty good for 6 Sam, a deck that is fine. Sidekick is a normal trap that can negate your opponent's cards on the field equal to the number of Cyberus monsters you control with 2/300 attack. Then in the graveyard you can banish it to special summon one of your banished Cyberus monsters. You can use each effect once per turn. There are a bunch of popular 2300 attack Cyberus monsters, Light Dragon and Wind Pegasus at Ignister, Decode Talker, etc. It's pretty powerful for a searchable negate. Searchable! Wait, how are we searching it? Oh, there's a rank 4 that does it when it's linked off. And it searches a Cyberus Ritual on summon. And you can Ritual Summon any monster from your hand by attributing monsters from hand or field. Are there any good Cyberus Rituals we can add? We've got an OTK tool, a conditional board wipe, and a way to fusion summon using monsters from the yard including a Cyberus. Wait, the rank 4 is a Dark Cyberus. If we've gone through a fusion monster, we can make Dracus Depelia. Hey, we can get to a rank 4 off of Melodious combos? So yeah, Melodious ends on 3 negates off of Ostinato or Scale plus Name, with lines that work through Nibiru now. Code Igniter also gives you a way to tribute a monster in hand, making the Melodious Reptile deck better at triggering Mitsurugi monsters. Additionally, Cyberus decks can make use of Cyberus Sage to make D-Save Worm as a spell trap negate, and sync them together for Winged Pegasus to turn on Sidekick and recur a Cyberus. Also, Ritual decks can add a Cyberus Ritual, giving these decks access to a bunch of 2-card combos that also end on a card negate now. It's hard to overstate how big of an impact Code Igniter has on common charity. Melodious is now probably the best deck, overthrowing Lunalight, for now at least, at time of writing, with any of Melodious's variants becoming much more viable. But also, Megalith gets a big boost to its consistency, but can still brick. Atagnister got some support downshifted in OP28. Picari and Ichichi are starters, and Ignister, a island, is a way to extend through the different names. But there are a couple issues with Atagnister in the format. We don't have a Link 1 that you can make with Picari that doesn't lock you out of Dark Templar, or a Cyberus Link 4 that doesn't require water material, and it doesn't have an extra deck Cyberus with 2300 attack to add Hiyari. Funnily, these issues are all addressed with cards whose lowest printing is rare, so Artisan Atagnister could be pretty strong, but for the moment I don't see it doing much in CC. In a similar boat, Heraldry. Heraldic Beast Stadwale released an ALIN and can, with a discard, become a Zero-Mat Redoer, Vestment it, and follow up. Which isn't the worst, but nothing to really write home about. Amphisbaena is an extender for the archetype, but requiring an archetypal discard is pretty bad, especially with Leo, a rare, not being in the format. Augmented Heraldry gives your Psychic Exceeds targeting protection from spell traps, and can theoretically get you into your engine if you draw a Heraldic monster. Heraldry Patriarch is a generic rank 4 that can actually mess up Melodious lines with its quick effect, and if it's sent to the graveyard, it lets you send 2 Heraldic Beasts from your deck. The engine of Stadwale and charged up Heraldry is pretty solid, but it does lock you into machines or psychics from the extra deck. Fortunately, there's a pretty strong deck that locks you into machines anyway in Crystron, a deck that can take advantage of the discard and the level 4 bodies, though some of the locks conflict. You can't make full use of the Crystron monsters summoning tuners from the deck the same turn you use Stadwale's effect to bring back 2 of the same named Heraldic. It won me a DB jelly, so it's probably not terrible. Okay, I think I've foreshadowed it enough. Lunalight got support in Duad. And while we dodged the cards that would raise the deck's ceiling significantly, we got 2 important pieces of consistency and resiliency. Lunalight Masquerade is a foolish burial for Lunalights the turn it's activated, and also allows you to recycle Poly and makes Poly into Wolf effect. This is a pretty big boon for a deck that was already running multiple ways to put Lunalight monsters into the graveyard, to revive with Tiger, or use their graveyard effects, or uses fusion material. Lunalight Silverwolf is a level 3 Dark Beast Warrior that if sent to the yard by effect can special summon a Lunalight monster from the deck, but you're locked into Lunalights from the extra deck while that monster's in the field. This not only gives you easier ways into fusion materials, and a 1-card combo into a rank 4 by summoning Chick, sending Martin, bouncing Chick, and then normal summoning the Chick again, but also turns on its second effect, which allows you to banish it and a Lunalight monster from your grave to negate a spell trap effect on the field. These additions seem like enough to push Lunalight back to being the undisputed best deck in the format. But Konami TCG has other ideas. Ashlan, U1000, is a Link 2 Cyberus monster that requires 2 monsters with different types and attributes from each other. It gives ritual monsters at points to piercing, and if you ritual summon, allows you to bounce 1 target face-up card your opponent controls. It also allows you to reveal a ritual monster in your hand, and add a ritual monster with a different type and different attribute from your deck to your hand. So if you make Code Igniter and add a Water Cyberus, you can then use this to grab a non-water, non-Cyberus ritual monster. And if you still have Code Igniter, ritual summon contributing 1 for the other. Heck, the Melodious combo made a Link 2 with a Water Dragon and a Light Fairy, and Code Igniter, so you can ritual summon pretty much any level 8 or lower ritual monster off of just Ostinato. Decks like Megalith and Shinobaron now have 1-card combos that also give them 2 negates. But wait, there's more! What if we still want to make Dracos Tapeli off of Cyber Stage? We can add some fodder. Is there a good ritual monster to tribute? Ostinato is a 1-card Crystal Lock and 3 negates. So, how do we go about countering this? Sidekick checks Dark Ruler no more. You can't special summon, so Super Poly, Kaijus, or Lava Golem don't work. Sphere Mode outs most of the board, but you still have to contest a monster negate and follow up without your normal summon, or just out all 3 interactions, but not be able to summon at all. Though you would lock your opponent out of special summoning as well, so you'll likely survive a turn. You gotta stop the Melodious combo from fully resolving. Ashe, Ostinato, or Refrain, or Couplet, Imperm or Veil or Baka. Bell can stop Ostinato, but is weaker into the other starters, and other anti-graveyard cards aren't amazing. But those aren't the only cards that might see play from Duelist Advance. Buoy of the Dawn's Light is a level 3 Dark Fiend that protects your monsters in your outermost monster zones, can special summon itself by negating one of your Fiend monsters, and, when it's sent to the graveyard, adds Mutiny in the Sky. A normal spell that can fusion summon a Fiend or Fairy fusion by shuffling Fiends or Fairies from grave, and adds itself back by pitching a Fiend or Fairy from hand, or field. These cards are strong additions to a number of interesting common charity decks. Fiend Pile decks now have an easier way to make Aerial Eater off of Tour Guide and a solid extender. Decks like Fluffle or DD can also make use of these cards to make their fusion monsters. Heck, Melodious can use Mutiny in the Sky to make Baka if you want greater recovery. Super Quant got 3 new cards in Duad. Super Quantum Black Lair is a level 7 monster that can special summon itself when your opponent activates a monster effect. When it is special summoned, it Xyz summons itself into a Super Quantal Mech Beast Xyz and attaches a Super Quant from Yard to it. When it's sent to the grave, it can add a Super Quant spell from deck. This gives you access to Magna Liger, a monster pop that becomes a quick effect if you've attached Red Lair to it, making Black Lair into bad K9 Izuna. But we don't have K9 Izuna, and we aren't getting it in the upcoming deck build pack. Super Quantal Fairy Zetan is a level 1 zombie that can special summon itself from hand if you control a Super Quant and copy one of their levels, and contribute itself and send a non-dark Super Quant card to graveyard to special summon a different named Super Quant monster from deck. This is both part of combos starting with Alphan that end on a quick effect pop, an additional body 66% of the time, and an archetypal spell search 66% of the time. But also is a 1-card starter in its own right, sending Red Lair to special summon Black Lair, letting you end on a quick effect pop, and Zetan chilling. But what archetypal spells should you search? Probably Lair 19 Sudden Incursion, Super Quantum Black! A quick play spell with 3 modes to choose one from, and you can use each mode once per turn. You can change an attack position monster to defense position, or if you control a Super Quant, special summon one with a different attribute from deck, or set a Super Quant trap. This is a decent extender for the deck. You can add it off Black Lair for follow-up when he gets detached, or set up the Pile Bunker loop, equipping Magna Liger with Magnus Lair, allowing you to attack for 3,100 piercing, 2,600, and 2,600, which, combined with the monster pops, gives the deck really solid offensive pressure. Because the deck's extra deck cards are machines, this archetype can slot in as an engine with Crystron and or Heraldic, but, barring 1-for-1, its 1 cards do take your normal summon. Seems playable, but I'm not sure yet that it'll have that big of an impact. Monarch got 2 useful downshifts in the most recent OTS pack, and 1 new common in Duelist Advance. Zestalos, the Mega Monarch, can be tributed over 1 tributed monster, is confiscation on tribute summon, and burns the opponent. Hand Disruption is very powerful in Yu-Gi-Oh!, and getting the best card in Hand Knowledge is even better. But you do need to support tribute summoning either over multiple bodies or over a tribute summoned monster. Similarly, Zaborg the Mega Monarch can destroy target monster, then if it's a light, make both players send cards from their ED to the yard based on the target's level. If its tribute was light, you can choose for your opponent as well. Being able to send basically every ED card with a relevant graveyard effect in the format is a pretty strong payoff, as well as potentially crippling your opponent's ED plays. On the subject of cards you can send from the extra deck, we got another good one in Valon the Super Psy Sky Blaster, a rank 5 which pops a set card when sent, and, on the field, is a quick effect Book of Moon for your opponent's monsters during the main phase. This makes Dogmatica Punishment a lot better into back row decks. Back to Monarch. Master Plan is a foolish for Monarch back row. This allows you to send the Prime Monarch, which can banish Master Plan to special summon itself, triggering Master Plan's second effect, which allows you to target a monster your opponent controls, to add a monster with Monarch stats and the same attribute, then normal summon an original Monarch. This gives decks a pretty interesting interruption or board breaker if you have Caius and or Zaborg in your deck against a dark or light deck. or theoretically just an extender. Neither Prime, nor Master Plan, nor Tenacity lock you. Steel String Sacrifice is support for high-level monsters. You can activate each of these effects once per turn by revealing a high-level monster in your hand, and taking a stack during the end phase if you didn't normal summon a monster with its name. Special summon this from hand, add this from grave, or banish this to add a level 5 or higher monster from grave. While this is not the best song in the world, this is a tribute, and a repeatable one at that, while also recurring your high-level monsters. Archmage got a couple of their spell traps supported common, but the cards that really matter here are Awakening, a normal trap that can special summon an Archmage monster, or a lore man the mentioned we don't have, and protect your fusion summons, I guess. Then, in the graveyard, bounce an Archmage monster to non-targeting pop a card, but only one effect per turn. And Archmage Power Patron, which locks you into fusions, can fusion summon cards we don't have, and if sent from hand or field, adds an Archmage back row not in your yard. This supports a slow as an Elas's control strategy that gets access to 3 pops over 3 turn cycles while getting discard fodder and putting illusion monsters into the graveyard, which could help you make Solaris 6th on if you're on field control. The psychic support in Duad seems strong, but I feel the deck has some flaws at the moment. Serene Psychic Girl is a decent starter, banishing a card from your hand, on summon, to give you access to any level 4 or lower psychic monster from your deck, but locks you into psychics from the ED. And it has some powerful targets like Psyreflector and Destructotron? That's okay, it's a tuner, we can synchro summon Crossmind Archfiend, a level 8 that requires a Psychic tuner, and during either main phase can return a banished level 7 or lower Psychic to the field. It also allows you to tribute monsters to gain their attack and that much LP during BP, or other cards we could already get into with Psyreflector. This card is looking like worse Assault Sentinel. Though, I guess it does allow you to ladder through a Synchro, which means more material for Teleport Fusion, which is a quick play Miracle Fusion for Metal Foes fusion monsters, or, new card, Absolute Axon Kicker, who is actually pretty strong as a payoff for fusing 2 Synchros, being able to pay 2k to banish all face-up cards your opponent controls on summon, and it can't be destroyed by card effects. Its floating effect isn't live in the format as it specifies level 10 Psychic Fusions, but we don't have consistent access to Teleport Fusion, so relying on Kicker seems ill-advised. They also have some solid extenders. Hush Psychic Minister is Tracker and Ignition Speed Farfa, Prototype Psychic Blaster summons from hand or banished, and later summons himself from graveyard, but they don't really address the problems getting to actually worthwhile payoffs consistently, aside from Shen Shen. I'd rather just play an Assault Mode deck. The Starham is a level 3 Synchro monster that lets you discard a card to special summon one of its Synchro materials as a tuner. Then, in the graveyard, you can discard 2 cards to bring it back, but banish it when it leaves the field. This is really strong support for Fabled, letting you get to Hyper Librarian plus Reagan off of Rescue Cat and pitching the rest of your hand, including a Fabled in the process. Fabled is a deck with a pretty storied history in CC, but hasn't really broken to top tier. Maybe this changes that? We'll have to see if a Resonant Fable player returns. There's been a couple of other pieces of Light Beast support released as well though. Spore the Fairy Seed from ALIN is a tuner extender from the graveyard if you control a Light Beast, Plant or Fairy or AFD. Ukano Mitsune no Tamayura is a tuner extender if you control a Light Beast, Fairy or Plant, and protects the Synchros it makes. And Ukano Mitsune no Onari is a Link 2 that requires 2 light monsters including a beast, protects your field spell, recurs a quick play, and if it's destroyed while there are field spells, it gets to pop a card an opponent controls and or burn. All 3 cards I'd keep in mind, but they don't have a great home at the moment. Heroic Champion Magnum Excalibur is mostly an upgrade over the original Excalibur, a card that has seen play in rank 4 hero builds since people decided to build them in CC. 2 level 4 warriors get you a 2k guy, battles a monster during damage calc, can double its current attack. It can then, during the main phase as a quick effect, equip itself to a monster to give that one 2k. It also has an effect in the graveyard to shuffle back 3 other warriors, which can be important for a hero if it ends up in a grind game. People have also been playing Heroic as an OTK deck. Similarly, Gaia Stream the Graceful Force is a big idiot that can be slapped over a rank 5 or 7 monster, becoming a 3k or 4200 respectively over a 2 Xyz, but it can't attack directly and loses a material at the end of the damage step. Sudden Thunder Swamp is trap monster support that discards a card to set a trap monster on activation, and whenever another card you control is destroyed, it can add another copy of that card from deck. Play it in trapmonsters.ydk, I guess? Unbreakable Xyz Barrier is an Omni-Negate counter trap while you control an Xyz monster, and can then pop a card by detaching 2. In the graveyard, it can attach a utopic monster to one of your Xyzes. This is probably an upgrade for some Xyz decks that want a counter trap, and potentially one they can theoretically search with a card, Xyzlay, that can theoretically be searched by Return of the Duelist. Moon Magician is Wolfbark for lights, that special summons itself if your opponent has an Xyz play it in Galaxy? For over a year now, Commentary has felt like it was overdue for a major powering up. And finally, Konami seems to be opening the floodgates for a lot of the design trends that started back in Posh being printed on commons. At the same time, a number of printings have fallen into place, such that Melodious, being a fairy fusion deck with access to level 4 and 7 monsters, means it can become both a starter for a smorgasbord of different decks, from Mitsurugi to Megalith, while putting up several negates, while also existing as a combo deck capable of ending on 3 negates, and a Christia lock off of 1 to 2 cards, making me pretty confident in calling it the best deck in the format at the moment. This in turn has made most board breakers less appealing. Kaijus can't out anything with Christia up. TRNM gets stopped by Sidekick, and where previously hand traps were pretty mediocre in the format before, now there are matchups where they're pretty much necessary. How else do you beat Melodious decks when on the draw? If they combo off, you're best out of Smear mode. You'd basically need 3 card combos of breakers to out Christia otherwise, so it's probably best to try to stop Melodious getting to that full combo. Ash and Imperm are probably worth main decking now. Droll can be useful into decks like Lunalight 2, and some other decks as well. In turn, Melodious lists have started playing larger Herald packages, to stop opposing hand traps, opposing ostinatos, and even opposing traps. Some version of Melodious is best deck now. I'm not exactly sure whether it's Pure, Fiends, Revved Pile, or whatever, but it does have a major metagame impact regardless. You have to be ready to stop Baka and be able to beat the deck's other engine pieces in a grind game. The next set with commons is the Mega Pack in early September, so there's 2 months for the format to adapt before anything new enters the mix. We know very little about the Mega Pack at time of recording, aside from the pack structure, so hopefully it isn't like last year's tin, and actually adds a significant number of cards to the format. I feel like I'll want another shake-up after 2 months of Ashland. In the meantime, play a DB Daily, or Common Charity Cup Duad, which will be starting after the EU WCQ. Go do all the YouTube stuff.